People, what it do? It's your boy Dev with DP. We back for another session of Real Talk with DP and Dev in the C&D Lounge. Thank you for joining us. We are in for a treat tonight. We got our brothers Trav and Mark with us tonight. And we just gonna chop it up, man. We're gonna talk about marriage. What it is to be married, as a man, what are you doing in your marriage? Just a bunch of different things as men we just have a discussion about. Because a lot of times we don't usually talk about things like this. We usually do talk about other different things, but I think this is a time when we can talk about this and just chop it up and just be able to learn from each other as brothers. DP, what you think?
Yeah, this is a good topic. Hopefully nobody gets in trouble, stick their foot in their mouth. And then again, it'll be good to hear, different perspectives from black males, because, everybody travels a different path in their marriage, their courtship, and their family life, So we just want to give some insight on what we do and what we've done. And hopefully that can help somebody out there, help somebody out there. We paused the real estate class just to break it up a little bit, give you some other good information, but we'll get back to it in another week or two.
Yeah, for sure. True indeed. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting topic. So
why y'all keep laughing?
It's going down. It is, bro. It is because you're going to get 4 different perspectives, and it's kind of going to be kind of a real perspective on how we feel in terms of marriage. Because you got 4, like all of us have been married,
different
amount of time,
different amount of years. Yeah. So for those who are watching, again, thank you. And this is interactive. So if you do have questions, please feel free to interact with us. We'll answer it from our different perspectives, and we're going to go right in. So let's rip the Band-Aid right off, and let's talk about one of the things that could make or break a marriage when it comes to how you feel about certain stuff, in particular finances. So we was having a conversation offline where, the topic came up about finances, and I'm just interested to know from each of you guys' perspective, how do you feel about finances? Is your money just your money? Should your spouse know about what money you have? Do you have separate bank accounts? What are your thoughts about that? And, how do y'all handle it as a unit? Travis, you go first.
Be out of the spot, right?
Let's dig right in.
Honestly,
that's your man right there.
Right. I look like just throw me out there to the rules, bro.
Got you all the way.
Honestly, finances, I believe that, because I'll give you the scoop. Like right now, me and my wife, we are actually going through it with finances. It's not like we don't talk about it. She wants us to talk about it, and I'm in my ways. I'm kind of stubborn, right?
Right.
So I get it where she's coming from, but we have 2 perspectives on it, right?
Okay.
She's the one that's she wants to know exactly what's going on, how are we gonna do this, how are we gonna do that.
Right.
She's a planner.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She plans everything.
Yeah, my wife does too.
I don't plan shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yo, if the bills are paid and we got the money to do something, fuck it, let's go do it. But we do have a joint bank account.
Mm-hmm.
She does have her bank account, and I have my bank account.
Okay.
And I don't know what's in her bank account.
Right.
She doesn't know what's in my bank account unless I tell her. And then we have the joint bank account where we just send money to every month that we pay the bills with. So yes, finances is a tricky thing because we had our counseling class on Monday. So yes, me and my wife is doing counseling, and I think everybody should do counseling. Before, I didn't agree with counseling, but it gives you a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Shout out to mental health.
Yeah, it gives you a different perspective on where your partner is coming from.
Yep.
And y'all guys know me. I'm a stubborn asshole sometimes, right?
No, not at all.
No, really?
But But I think we had our counseling, and she made points. She made points that just because I'm frugal with my money, well, not frugal, but I just spend my money
right,
and don't have any type of care or anything like that doesn't mean that I'm wrong.
right.
And because she's more of a planner and she wants to know exactly where the money is going and how we're spending it,
right,
doesn't mean that she's wrong. We just have different perspective on how we manage our money.
Okay.
But we need to come to a common ground on certain things or just talk about it. So
yeah, so I was going to get to that.
Wrong. And that's where we go wrong. And that's where I go wrong at. She wants to talk about it, but I'm not a talker like that. So that's where we butt heads at.
Okay.
So
all right. Marcus, you got something to say?
Yeah, we're basically the same, but we kind of started that like in the beginning of our marriage.
How long you been married, Marcus?
12 years will be 13 years in July.
And Travis, you
How long have you been
years.
married?
3 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
DP, how long you been married?
3 years.
Okay.
And you the grandpa.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying how long you've been married though.
No, I'm about to. I'll say I've been married for 19 years.
Okay.
But no, so we're the same way where we have one account that pays for anything that's bill related. Or like if we want to like just order Uber Eats for us, the money's in there. And then we have our separate accounts that pays for our separate bills or just our savings, which is really our separate savings.
Right.
So, we have that. We kind of figured out what was best for us in the early on in the beginning, because my wife is a better person when it comes to actually paying bills.
Right.
Because I would forget to pay
I know
the bill. You know what I mean? Like, it might be like a day late. You like, dang, man, I just forgot.
You just forgot.
It.
Right. Yeah.
So she is better off on that. And then the bills that are in my name, what I've done, now you have the ability to just set up that payment plan.
Right.
And you just,
kind of set it and forget it.
Absolutely. Because I will forget it.
Right.
And I got to agree with Trav, though. Finances can be a big thing in a marriage. And it can really make or break a marriage.
Yes.
Especially early on in the marriage when you're like, fresh in, because you're still trying to get to know each other as a married couple.
Right.
So, you definitely in the beginning have to kind of figure out how are we going to do these finances, because the majority of us, well, the three of us got married when we were a little older than compared to you.
Yeah.
So, we were, well established by ourselves. So then when you come into a real committed relationship as a marriage, you have to really kind of figure out how are we going to do these things now as one.
Correct.
Because, before it was, if I went out and spent $100 at the bar, I'm cool,
Right, it's my money, right.
So now it's a little bit different of, you got to have that situation of, hey, I'm going out with the fellas, I kind of got to watch how much money I might spend out, doing an outing or whatever.
Right. What about you, DP?
So we got our own separate account. We got a joint account, but we both have access to the real estate business account.
Right.
And that's really where all the bills in the house gets paid from.
Yeah.
Most stuff are set on autopilot, but she kind of pays all the bills in the house.
Right.
I don't even know how much the water bill is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's kind of like me too.
Yeah, she takes care of all that stuff because I will forget it.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't bother me, but it bothers her. You know what I'm saying? Being late on anything bothers her.
Yeah.
I'm like Marcus. And I understand that because you get hit with a little late fees, and eventually that adds up. But being single, it's okay. It's just late fee,
right?
Versus why you didn't pay the bill on time. You knew it was this day. It's always the same day.
Right. Absolutely.
But and I understand how finances can be a very touchy subject, because when we were doing a lot of houses at the same time, and the amount of money that's moving through the account, and sometimes you get into a cash crunch, things got tense, Things got a little tense, but you just weather that little storm, and then eventually everything worked out. But because she is a planner, she wants to know where everything is, every dime is, the budget, this, that, and the other. And I'm not like that. I'm like, we know it got to be paid for. Let's just pay it, and be done with it. So I guess Trav and I have, similar.
Almost same kind of.
Yeah.
Similar views and thoughts.
Yeah.
See, mine's is a little different because we started out and established early, what the dynamic was in terms of who was going to pay the bills and who wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, my wife doesn't work, right? So when it comes to the finances, I am the primary person bringing the finances into the house. But with that being said, I don't pay the bills. So what happens is that, the finances come in, but she has access to all of the accounts, right? So, obviously we have the main account where, a lot of our stuff come out of, and then we have a business account where she has access to. She has access to the business and personal credit card, and then she has her own account. And then I have my own account. And the reason why we did that was more so where if I wanted to kind of like buy something for her, right, like a surprise,
right? She wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know because a lot of times because she has a hand on her finances. If she was to see something come from,
you're like, oh, you just spent $1,000 at Chanel, oh,
that must be for me.
It
better be for me.
For her, right?
But on top of that, it's very hard to kind of surprise Shawnee. And if I'm being totally candid, sometimes I'm a little lazy. Well, not a little. I'm lazy with that.
With the surprising?
Yeah, in terms of trying to surprise and everything that.
I try to surprise Jamie a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like she's Inspector Gadget. Well,
that's the thing.
She'll fit, I can find different hiding places.
Yeah.
All over the house to hide stuff. So the best surprise that I did have, but a great friend of mine, my child's godfather, destroyed the surprise by telling her that basically he was supposed to be going with us to the
Marcus, what does that have to do with finances?
It had to do with the surprise.
Right.
That has nothing to do with finances, brother.
Well, that did have to do because we were paying for a trip that she didn't know about the trip. But
right. So we have that, and then the other thing, which I want to touch on a little bit, is the fact that Shawnee has her own account now, and there are times when a lot of times we're in a better place than we were when we first started financially. So a lot of times we was kind of cash poor, you know what I mean, in terms of house poor. If that's the right term. Well, it's the same term.
The same thing.
Basically, everything once the bills is paid, we really didn't have anything to really do anything else or enjoy each other, right? So. That became a strain, and it was kind of like, Shawnee would be like at times, well, I may want to buy something for myself, or things like that. A lot of the biggest thing about Shawnee that I will say is that she's a giver, and she'll make sure that everybody else is straight first before she is. And now she has her own account so that when she wants to buy stuff, then that's what she wants to do, and that's what she needs to do to make her be Shawnee and not just a nurturer for the household, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I mean, it kind of keeps her whole.
How old were you when you got married?
We were, let me think. I think 20. I think I was 21.
Yeah, so y'all were kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So for somebody like me that got married when I was 41,
right?
I'm in the conversation we had, I'm set in ways. Now I try to adjust, but just being that I was the way I was for so long, living by myself, is kind of hard. And like I said, I make it even harder for my wife because I don't like to talk about stuff.
Right.
And it gets to the point whereas I know she's frustrated, but my attitude is so bad. It's like,
but I mean, to be honest, I think like you did something that a lot of couples, and especially a lot of Black couples, do not do. Y'all went inside. Sought help. You went and actually went to a counselor.
I mean, that's the first step.
And that's the first step. I mean, you got to think there's so many of us, especially African Americans, that just don't go to see any type of counseling.
Right.
Because, especially men, we're all taught to like, yo, man, just tough it out.
Yeah.
Just go ahead. You'll be all right.
Or it'll blow over.
Right. It'll blow over. I mean, but that, the reality of it is that it doesn't happen like that.
Right.
And I think a lot of us, like, you know, we kind of got, how can I say this? Our grandparents and parents kind of hid a lot of things from us in terms of marriage.
Right.
And like those examples that we had, they weren't really real examples because we didn't get to see all the behind the scenes that kept them together.
Well, weren't the best examples because
that's too. But I mean, like when you sit there and see, oh, grandma and granddad was married for 60 years, but you don't realize that they had so much going on in the background that the real reason why they were married for 60 years was because they had kids and they just didn't want to leave each other.
Right. I mean, but honestly, you really don't need to know everything that goes on the back because everybody's going to handle their situation
different. I agree with you, but I just think that, you know, you're kind of like your thought process of how a marriage should be is set by certain examples that you had in your life.
Yeah, because, you know, my situation, my mom and dad was never married. I grew up with my grandfather's house, my mom and I, and my grandmother died when I was real young. So I never saw a successful marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you never saw that coming up as a kid, you really don't know how that actually works in real life. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of lessons and compromises that you privileged to if you see a successful marriage, you know what I'm saying? That if you've never seen that, it's almost like trial and error once you become an adult, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Definitely trial and error.
I was blessed to be able to see one successful marriage growing up, and that was with my uncle and my aunt, because my parents, they were not married, and my father wound up stepping out on his wife, who he never divorced, and got with my mother, and they started living together, which is another story for another day. But
that's not uncommon,
right. No, but yeah, so you know, my uncle and my aunt, they lived in Danbury, Connecticut, and every summer I would go with them, and you know, they was in my life, and that's the only marriage that I saw that was stable, and you know, kind of the example. And you know, obviously they had a lot of different things that they was dealing with that I found out later on in life, specifically with my aunt who has mental health issues as well. So, but that was stuff that they dealt with that I never was exposed to when I was younger. Right. I didn't find those things out until I was well into my 30s.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of relationships or marriages that you've seen where you wind up finding out that the father had like 3 extra kids.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, in my case, my mom was not married to my father, and I was a product of an outside relationship.
Right.
Of which, it was always, you know, I didn't realize that until I didn't know that until I got older.
Right.
I always thought that another man was my father.
Right.
And then when I found that out, it was like, okay, well, you know, hey, I don't really need a father in my life like that. I had my stepfather at the time who was basically my dad. So it was like, you know, I didn't need to have a relationship with my actual father.
Right. You know, the interesting thing about, you know, us being married, and one of the things that I did not learn growing up, even though I saw like the marriage of my uncle and my aunt, was specifically how to treat a woman. You know, that was unfortunately, you know, growing up, you know, and I'm sure that we can attest to all of that. Yeah. You know, growing up where you grew up, the examples that you may have seen were not the best examples. So, you know, you kind of go through those type of growing pains as well, trying to deprogram yourself on what you think, you know, treating a woman is like, and that's not specifically the case. For example, you know, I am the breadwinner of the house, right? I'm bringing the money into the house. I'm the provider. So that should be it, right? I should not have to hear any complaints, right? I should not have to hear any complaints. Yeah. Don't listen. I am. Look, you're eating. The roof is good, right? The lights are on. The kids are fed. Everybody got clothes in their back. You got cars in the driveway. I'm doing a good job, right? But in actuality, even though that area is good money, there's an unbalance. There's an unbalance there because the area that I am lacking in
Right.
is listening
Oh, that's
and
what
the
I was
quality
about to say.
time.
That's
right?
me too. Yeah.
Right. So, let's dive into that. Like, are you guys having those type of?
We got a couple of comments.
All right, go ahead.
Jamie said, "Yeah, Trav, your attitude is bad."
It would be her.
My aunt, Delonte, that may be true, but you should know what you want your marriage to be. That is true. I mean, you
know
have
what?
this. Go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, because I want to hear what you.
You have this idealistic view of what marriage should be,
Right.
but when you get into it, it's a little bit different than it ain't like TV. You know what I'm saying? But and I'm not saying like my aunt and my uncle, they've been married for, I think they got married when I graduated college, so at least 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. That's amazing. You know what I'm saying? And my
Just as dog that. Okay.
yeah. So, that's black love, you know what I'm saying, at its best. My other aunt and uncle, they've been married, but all of that happened my late teens or early 20s, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I was growing up, I didn't see those examples, But, you know what you want your marriage to be, but it's kind of hard to make it that picture perfect story because you got two people who come from different backgrounds, different places, and you just don't see eye to eye all the time. Like my wife, her parents have been married for 50 some years now. So she's seen that, the good and the bad times, how as a kid, the mom and dad compromised to make things work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you look at it a little bit differently,
Definitely.
I agree with that. Like, idealistically, like, what is the ideal marriage? Like, it would be different for everybody. You can't sit there and say this is the ideal marriage, because it's going to be different for everybody. Like, so in your case, you are the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Your wife doesn't work. My case, me and we have a two income family.
Right.
So it's hard to sit there and say idealistically what a marriage is you would think it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you just want to be kind of happy, loving individuals who are able to coexist in a way that you're loving to each other. You're considerate of each other. That person is on your mind. Things like that. And you're, if you have kids, you're raising your kids to be good people.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know what I wanted my marriage, but again, I got married really young. So I don't know what I want my marriage to be. What I can say is that, I wanted it to be, as cool as we was when we was dating and everything before we actually got married and before Shania was born. I wanted it to be just as cool and just as exciting as it was. But clearly, obviously we all know that's not necessarily the case. You have to adjust. You have to continue to make things spicy, attractive, whatever you want to call it. But, there's always an adjustment period with everything. So, I'm learning now as I get older what I would like for it to be now and what I need to do to make sure that that's right. But, at 2021, I'm definitely not thinking that.
Shit, that's just like me. Like, shit, I got married at 41 and I wasn't sure what.
Yeah.
I knew what I had. I know I had a wife that supported me and loved me and actually took in my kids. So let me still be myself.
Right.
But, and I knew I loved her for the person that she was and her family because we all it was just like a perfect blend or whatever. But when you get married and you actually live together and you start seeing that this person, like you said, with the finance, like you think this way, I think this way, or like me, I don't like to talk, but she likes to talk about things out like 30-minute, 40-minute conversations. And I'm like, yo, like, and I'm the one who shuts down, like, and then because it's like we get in an argument and
I don't
for me,
right.
I'll say whatever I want to say, and like it's not rude, not in a rude way, not like that. But I mean, once I say,
not rude, Trav.
no,
I was going to say,
when I say,
how do you not say something in a rude way? Because I mean,
yo,
to be honest, that's you.
Can I finish though?
You can't. I said to pick you back off.
Please, by all means, continue.
I'm just mean like once I say what I want to say, and it's like that's it.
No filter though.
Yeah, I have a filter sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not all the time.
When?
Okay.
We're gonna let them have that for
Let me have my moment.
Let you live.
Let me live.
Let you live on camera. Okay.
But it's constantly is I'm constantly learning and trying to like adjust and become a better person. But being that I'm stuck in some of the ways that I'm stuck in is hard. So I gotta learn to give and adjust.
No, I think it does have to do with age. I don't know if you should get married young like you did, you know, because a lot of that young love is exciting, is this, is that. But at a certain 25 to 30, you grow apart. You know what I'm saying? Because now you guys realize what path you're going down in life, and you know, you're just not made for each other anymore. And if you get married at an older age, we got our ways.
Yeah, it's like a catch.
It's a catch.
And we got to have a female who's willing to deal with us and our ways, at least, you know.
Some of it.
You know, and my wife is like that too. You know, she wants me to, why do you keep doing the same thing? This, that, and that. I'm like, I mean, I've been doing it for 45 years.
Yeah, right.
You know, how do you change it all of a sudden? I mean, because you do it unconsciously. You don't even think that you're doing it, and you do it and be like, damn, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of hard.
I find myself at times trying to be conscious of different things that I know will irk Shawnee, right? But I always have these moments where I may think I'm doing take one step forward, and then I don't stay consistent with the change, and then it's like 2 steps back.
So how you get to that? How did you get to that point? Like, you've been married 19 years, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
You've been through some things. How did you actually get to that point of being conscious of what you actually do?
Well, I don't know if I'm all fully there all the time, but I think that the best thing I could say is I know I don't particularly want to hear her mouth on the same thing that I continue to do.
I don't know if that's a good way to put it.
Well, I say it like this, because let me make sure I articulate this the best way. I don't want her to look at me in a way that makes it seem like, damn, we already spoke about this already, right? Like you continue to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
I think that's, I don't want to say that's a part of marriage, but I think that just happens with couples that have been together for a while.
True.
Because you can have a conversation with your spouse and be like, listen, these are some things that are really, you know, bothering me. And you know, they'll work on it as, you know, really hard and they'll change things around.
Right.
But I don't know if it's just like, if it's just, you know, nature of things, of where it does creep back up.
And this is what I'll say to that. I'll say that it's a two-way street, right? So let's just say for me trying to better myself and elevate, right? Like I try to be really conscious and mindful of certain things I know that may irk her, that I can adjust, right? So when I do that, you know, it's one thing. Now, where I may fail at, let's just say if I like miss the mark, what I would like is, instead of her being like giving me this look or going off, you know, being more patient, or being like, okay, look, this is where it is again. You know, you may have did this and let's talk about it.
But then the question becomes of how long has it been going on that you were missing the mark?
Right.
Because if she's gone off.
Right.
But I guess your point is that, you know, she could have nipped it in the bud in the beginning of sitting there saying, hey, Dev.
Well, yeah, but then if we go a little deeper, you know, I got some things I still need to work out, even with 19 years married. Because it's like, because for me in particular, I have a tendency at times to not necessarily receive the criticism well.
I do that too. Right.
So even if because one of my things I would say is, you know, it's not you saying what you said, it's the delivery of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
James is the same way. Like her delivery is.
The delivery of it didn't make me really feel really good, right? So you know, I've spoken to, you know, we have conversation about that, and that's something that she needs to adjust. But I think is a little deeper for me because it's like, okay, even if she was delivered in a certain way, you know, I have to question, do I still want to receive that criticism? Right. Which is why I'm in therapy, to kind of get over that part of it for me. Because I want to make sure that I better myself, not for her, but for me, so I can just be a better person, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Because I mean, like, even when, like, you know, sometimes Jamie, it's like she recognizes that, you know, I don't get motivated by how she criticizes me.
Right.
So it's like, to me, it's like, yo, if you realize I don't get motivated by that, you should kind of switch it up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to shut down at some point, you know, and then she's going to be mad at me because I don't shut down.
But see, and that's the other biggest thing, right? Like, I know, like, you know, one of the biggest things for men in general is really just being able to have that fortitude to communicate even through the bad stuff, as opposed to going through taking the turning the switch on and just shutting down, right? You know, it's easy for us to shut down because that's what we're used to doing. Like, I don't want to hear this shit, like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the thing that really is important for us to be mindful of and elevate is to kind of work through that and really just be open and really communicate. And if we can do that, I think things could be different. But it's very hard to do that.
Travis' mother-in-law hit the nail on the head.
What Ma say?
She said, how else would you know what that person was thinking unless you guys talk? You know?
Hey, you know what?
You know she's directing that too, right?
I mean, listen, Ma,
this might just be the Travis session tonight.
Communication is the key, bro. And my communication is fucking horrible, bro. Like, for real. Like, I'm not denying it. I know it.
Yeah.
I know it's horrible, but I mean, and I shut down and I try not to, but it's hard for me just to sit there and just fucking talk about the same shit over and over again. And
why?
I don't know. I just don't. I'm not just a fucking talker. Like, you just say what you say, and I say what I say. Boom.
You mean you're not a relationship talker? Because you're a talker. You can talk all day.
I'm not a talker. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, you're not a relationship talker. Because you can talk to anybody and their mama.
That's different.
That's what I just said. You're not a relationship talker.
Right.
But you're a talker. Like, listen, you're
I'm outgoing, yes.
Very much so. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll use that word. That will be the word that we use, is outgoing,
Yes. Maybe not a relationship talk. You right. So I'm trying to work on that. I don't know why though.
I don't like all that talking either. I mean, we'll talk, but I don't need a whole 30-minute conversation about the same thing.
I would say you're not a talker, period, though.
Nah, you know, so.
Right.
But once I already had this conversation, and if it happens again, just like they'll say, just tell me nicely, you know, and then see if I work on it or not.
You should see if
but that's the
it's
thing.
A process, though. I was like, because it's an issue today, but if it's a habit that I have, then, you know, it's not going to just change overnight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nothing changes overnight. Right. Everything takes time.
I think the biggest thing, especially with habits that you are just used to doing over time, you know, they become strongholds. And what happens is when you try to break those strongholds down, it's difficult. So, and that's a two-way street, right? So, you know, obviously our spouses have these different strongholds and things that we don't like, right? So if they are continuing to work on it, there are going to be days where they miss it, just like we would miss it. But the important thing is trying to communicate and be like, all right, listen, I know you're working on this. This is what you did. This is the issue, or this is how I'm feeling, you know, pointing out. Now, obviously, I'm talking this thing like I got it down to the science.
That's what I was about to ask you.
But I don't. I'm just, let me just put that out there.
So let me ask you a question. You talk to Shani about everything?
No, and I was going to get to that. I don't talk to Shani about everything, even though she does to me. I don't talk to Shani about everything, especially with how I'm feeling, because I have this fear that it's going to be used against me.
I think also we don't.
And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just being totally transparent about.
I think all of us. I mean, I'm just kind of throw it generally out there.
Did you talk to Jamie about everything?
No, that's what I was about to say. I don't think as married men you don't talk to your spouse about everything. Sometimes you actually need, like, well, I mean, for us, we need each other to talk things out. Like, I want to make sure that, you know, like if I'm saying it to y'all, like, yo, it's not like this crazy notion in my head that I kind of need y'all to listen to it. Like, am I crazy? I mean, because if I'm crazy, like, just let me know I'm bugging.
Right.
If I'm bugging, let me know I'm bugging.
Right.
But if I ain't bugging, let me know so I can kind of address it. If I do have a situation with Jamie, I can address it with her. But before I take it to a whole nother level, I kind of got to check out my closest friends, the ones I call my brothers, like, yo, am I bugging?
Right. Right.
I think that's very important for me to have you guys, because like, no, honestly, like for real, like,
No,
when me and Nicole have different situations that we go through, and I talk to you guys, like, you guys, you give me the real deal. Like, yo,
yeah, because I mean, you kind of need to. I mean, like, you don't need your wife's perspective. You don't need your perspective. I want an outside perspective of somebody looking into the situation to sit there and say, hey, look, you're bugging, she's right, or, you know, this is how you need to approach the situation.
But then, you know, that's the thing that I need to work on, because I shouldn't have to come to you guys all the time about.
It happens. I mean, 12 years, he's 19 years.
Yeah.
And me and him definitely have conversations about marriage, or with a situation that's going on in our lives. I mean, that's just. I mean,
it's not everything, but you know,
it's not everything. Yeah. But I mean, like, listen, like me and Dev, me, you, DP, we all talk.
Right.
And Trav, you got everybody having sympathy for you, man.
Who's having sympathy for me, bro? What you talking about?
I'm Carolyn. She's like, Travis, don't beat yourself up about it. You get there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a process.
It's a process, bro.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that's it. I mean, you know, and you know, the thing about Sean and I, you know, we've been together for so long, because at the end of the day, the foundation is first of all, foundation is God, because it's been more ups than downs, obviously, in our time together. But you know, he's the foundation, obviously, and then we're friends. You know, so you know, those two things kind of stabilizes everything else, and then we just, you know, work through what we work through.
I think that's the biggest thing that for any marriage, whether you go or, you know, your ups and your downs, is to fall back on that friendship that actually started you on the path to even becoming married.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, even when me and Jamie were going through whatever issues that we had, I always had to remember, like, listen, I met her like back in 1996. We became, you know, classmate type friends, and then we kind of grew that friendship out into a, you know, a time when we wanted to actually date.
Yeah.
So I always have to, you know, realize that, like, we've been friends for like a very long time.
Very long time. Right.
So, you know, at the end of the day, I still have to respect you, not just as my wife, but like you're a close friend of mine, and you've been there, and we've been there for each other through some of the like most tumultuous time, like, you know, with losses in our life, where, you know, she might have lost her grandfather, her grandmother, her father, and then she's been there, you know, with me when I lost my mother. So, you know what I mean? It's like, realize that, you know, that's still your best friend. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, to what this conversation, how this came about, right?
Yeah.
The question was, did you get married to have a wife?
Oh.
Or you got married to be a husband? Is there a difference?
I didn't see a difference.
Oh,
because that's what the question
initially all started from. You weren't here. It was the three of us, and DP kind of asked that to us, and it was just like, well,
yeah, Chelsea asked.
Chelsea asked. Okay, Chelsea. I'm sorry. I apologize, Chelsea.
Chelsea asked.
I'll give you right, because that's not a question you asked. But yeah, Chelsea asked that.
So Dev,
yes,
I see it spinning in there.
I'm thinking.
Can you tell me? Is there? Do you think there's a difference? What is the difference? Like, because
between having a wife and being a husband.
Yeah.
Well, I think that. All right. Well, this is my answer. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's mine.
I mean, there's no wrong answer.
All right. So my thought to that is, if you just look at it from just having a wife, then you eliminate your roles and duty as being a husband to that wife. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
let's just say, because when you think of it, oh yeah, I just have a wife. There is, in my eyes, a sense of possession. Like, I own this. You know what I'm saying?
Like property.
Like property. And when you think of it that way, then you're doomed to fail because it's not that. It's a partnership that y'all are trying to grow and build together.
I said it wrong.
And the question is, good looking, Chelsea. Did you get married to be a husband or to have a wife? See,
Similar.
Yeah. So I think that when I got married, there was a bunch of different things going on. I knew that I wanted to marry Shawnee when I met her. We was just young, and then Shania was born, and that kind of accelerated the process. I felt like the right thing to do was to get right with the Lord, because we was already living together, quote unquote, shacking up, and I really truly felt like I wanted to do the right thing. And the thing was, what am I waiting for? Because I knew this is the woman I wanted to marry anyway. Okay. So to answer that question, I wanted to get married because I wanted to have this woman to be with me for the rest of my life, and I wanted to take care of her. So that was my thought to it.
That question is a setup.
That's fine.
I think it's 50-50. I mean, you want to be a husband and you want a wife.
But I don't think, well, in my case, and I think in most men's case, again, if you don't have that father figure who's been married or who can guide you, you don't know what a husband actually is. I mean, you have your idea because you know people who are married,
right?
But I don't know all that you do at home for Jamie and the kids, because I'm not there. But your daughter will know all that you do for them because she's
absolutely
there.
Right.
So I think that goes back to having examples around you that can show you, what the husband actually he does. So I guess my answer is, Chelsea, I've known Chelsea 19, 20 years, you know what I'm saying? So when we were together before, she was ready to get married. I wasn't, just young in Atlanta,
He was acting a fool. He was out here. He was out here in these streets.
Yeah, well, not exactly. But I just wasn't ready to get married. Because being young, and I don't know what it was. It just wasn't my time, I guess. But then got back together, ran back into each other, or I sought her out, basically.
Yeah.
And we worked things out. So I knew that I wanted her to be my wife, but, I knew I was going to be her husband, but what does that actually entail?
Right. Yeah. What does that all mean? Yeah.
So it's a growing,
See, the thing is, when I say I knew that I wanted to, take care of her, that doesn't mean that I knew what that necessarily was.
Right.
Because, if you remember, I was like, my thinking was very linear in terms of, all right, I provide for the household in terms of finances and, we just trip out. Right. But there's times when you just need to listen, or, and just communicate it. And, there's other elements that I was not fully aware of. And, by no means am I perfect now, but I understand, what needs to be done. 40-year-old Dev definitely knows the difference from 21-year-old Dev.
Right.
But yeah, I would say this, the thought was always to be like, all right, this is who I want to be with and I want to take care of. The thing was, what does taking care of her mean?
Right.
So that's the biggest thing for me. And that's not only me taking care of her in terms of, being that person that's going to be there and communicating quality time, because I understand that's what she likes. But taking care of her also means me communicating with her on how to take care of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I don't communicate that effectively, she's not going to take care of me and I'm going to feel some type of way and I'm gonna be like, oh, F her, and I'm not going to be taking care of her, right? You know what I'm saying? So, those are the different things that I'm still trying to learn and figure out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. I mean, that goes back to like, I know when we went through marriage counseling, we had to do that thing about learning each other's love languages.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to that, like, what one person feels of how they feel to be loved,
right,
is somebody else. It can be completely different from someone else.
Yeah.
Someone could feel like, if you buy me a gift or, you do this or you do that for me, I feel loved.
Right.
For me, it could be, us just watching the movie together,
Yeah.
Those little things.
Right.
So,
yeah. So answer the question, Mark.
I think it's 50-50. I don't think it leans one way or the other of being a husband or having a wife. Growing up, I always kind of knew I wanted to be married and be a husband and have a wife, but it wasn't, I didn't get married to be a husband. I wanted to be a husband, but I wanted to have a wife. So that's why I kind of say it's really kind of a 50-50 thing. It doesn't lean one way or the other, because to me, it's a perfect partnership when you're in a marriage. You have to
supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, right.
Let me take that back.
Right.
It's supposed to be
in theory.
In theory, it's supposed to be a perfect partnership. Because at the end of the day, being married is a job.
Yeah.
You work literally 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real days off of being married. You're married.
Mm-hmm.
Your only vacation you take is basically with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take a vacation with your boy, you still call him back home to your wife.
Right.
So you ain't really on vacation. So it's right. Let's be honest. So it's one of those things that if you want to be married, you have to realize that you can't just have one foot in the marriage. You got to kind of have both.
Mm-hmm.
If you do have one foot in the marriage, then your marriage is not going to be 100%. And I think a lot of times we fall victim to that, where we think that we could just have one foot in the marriage, and it will be okay.
Right.
And then that's when issues occur.
Yeah.
And that could be and that's on both sides of a man and a female. That that's when issues occur, and then the question becomes: do we correct those issues to make the marriage better? You can lead down one way where you sit there and say, you know what, after this, I'm out. This is not for me. Or do you kind of work on things to get them back on track, where you do have that marriage where it's 50-50 of I'm doing my part and you're doing your part to make each other happy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I never got married to be a husband because I never knew what a husband was supposed to do.
Right.
I actually got married because I'm in love with the person that I married, and I knew we were good for each other. So
what made you think that? What made you feel that?
Just being like, I was able to be the person that I am.
Okay.
And still we were able, we actually talked more when we were just dating and not married.
That's your question. Did you have like an aha moment, or was there like a specific event that happened or situation that happened when you were just like, yo, she's the one for me. I'm done. It's a wrap. I'm about to go buy this ring, about to get on this knee, and I'm about to propose.
Did I have an aha moment? You know what? I did have an aha moment. Actually, I was dating Nicole. Well, yeah, we were talking, and Nicole just cut me off out of the blue. Just stopped talking to me. And she was like, and I was like, I called her. She was like, yo, we can't talk anymore because I got school and then the boys and all this and that. And I'm like, well, shit, you had school and the boys 8 months ago. What's changed now? So me, in my mind, I'm just thinking, oh, she's messed with somebody else and stuff like that. But I used to call her. The thing that caught me was I still used to call her on her birthday, called her on Mother's Day, Christmas, and then out of the blue, just check on her. And I did that for, I don't know, 6-7 months. And then one of my friends came down and we all went out, because I met her through her. And she was like, what happened with you and Nicole? I was like, I don't know. She stopped talking to me. She was like, no, Babby, you cheated on her. I was like, yo, I didn't do anything. I promise. So when she went back and she was talking to Nicole, Nicole told her, no, he didn't do anything. Pinky was like, well, you need to call him because he asked about you. I asked about her when we was at the club. So she came up to do one of her, she was in school and she had to do like a, something in Atlanta. I forgot what it was. And we went out to the park, to Wolf Creek Amphitheater to listen to music. And ever since that day, that's when I was like, yo, that's it.
I got some,
but yeah, I mean, to finish it off, I never got married to be a husband because I didn't know what a husband actually was supposed to do, but I knew this is the person I wanted to be with.
Yeah, for sure.
What?
Shanette, you know Shanette.
I know Shanette.
Yeah,
what Shanette say?
She made a comment. Well, she was like, she read a post that says, "Men settle where they find peace." I think it's a little bit more than.
I think it's a little bit more than that,
man.
but I think that pieces.
Shout out to Shanette.
Shout out to Shanette. The pieces what keeps you. I mean, who wants to have like
Drama?
Like, I mean, especially at our age, it's different if these little 20-something-year-old kids, they like drama. I don't want no drama in my life.
I don't know.
I don't want nobody running up at my house at 1, 2 in the morning trying to bust my windows out. I'm cool.
I guess it depends on what you define as peace, right? Because some relationships like that drama, or like that little bit of little extra in it.
Yeah. You know what?
I think it
I
depends.
can't do it though. No.
I think when you're young, you can tolerate that. You know what I'm saying? But when you get to a certain age, you kind of need that level-headed person because
I mean,
for me, right?
Yeah.
So all right.
You're
So
still gonna have to you're still gonna have to be able to tolerate something from the person you're with. Everything is not gonna be perfect. Like, so you still gotta have that.
It doesn't have to be like that drama.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you gotta be like, for me, I gotta be willing to tolerate whatever Nicole dish out to me in our marriage, and that's what I'm at peace with. You see what I'm saying?
I get you.
I'm at peace with what she gives.
I guess when I think of drama, I'm thinking of like everybody's seeing this. It's different if we got some issues at the house, but we keeping it to ourselves.
I mean, that's drama too, though.
That's drama too.
I guess I just don't see that as
I think
drama.
I think it could be like when you were just dating different females, and you had your option of 1, 2, or 3. The one that don't bring any drama to your life. I'm just giving an example.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying. I'm inferring from her.
Get it right, brother. Come on.
I mean, we all been to college, so we ran into those crazy ones before.
Yeah.
So that crazy one, it may be fun, but there's no future there.
There's no future.
Oh, absolutely.
No future
Absolutely.
there.
That's a headache.
So, but she may be a great person, but you would rather peace when you go home at night versus that craziness. That craziness, because you don't want that could be stressful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You come home every day, and that's why men go to the bar after work instead of coming home because they don't want to deal with that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? If you got drama at home every day, you're gonna find some place to go until you're ready to go sleep at night.
Oh, find somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
Find somebody else to be with.
Be with, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Jimmy got an
I'm a hoe.
and Don, so husband and wife by default, what is the definition of a husband, wife / wife? Like I said, I don't think most men actually go into it for their role of being a husband because a lot of us are figuring it out as we go.
Yeah,
I think roles are defined more when you actually get like the more and more you get into your marriage is when roles are defined. Because the roles that our grandparents and parents had
totally different.
They're not the same roles that we have
totally
as a husband and wife.
Right.
And then you look at the 20-some-year-olds. It's not their roles are definitely not the same as all
them niggas probably get married.
I mean, the way you may define the roles in the marriage right now from a male's perspective, I mean, you could be looked at as a misogynist, depending on what it is. And I say that like, yeah, you're just supposed to cook and clean, and I'm just supposed to bring home the bacon and all of that. That's
Shit,
not
even,
how that.
even if
that's
it's
not,
the woman who's bringing
is.
home the bacon, they be like, "Nigga, you better cook, clean, take care of the kids."
I think it's a matter of like what Mark was saying. I think it's a matter of each person within that relationship understanding what they're good at, and that's how you define the roles.
Right.
Like, if Shawnee was the breadwinner, then that would be one thing, and then I would be the one that kind of tends to the house. If I operate in that space, the best, then that's the space that I need to be operating in, and that's what I think. That's when you start defining, what a husband should be, what a wife should be, depending on what you operate best in.
Yeah, I think that's key right there. Like, what do you operate best in? Like, I mean, I do majority of the cooking.
Right.
It's not my wife that does the majority of the cooking, and that's fine. Right. She does all the laundry. Right. I mean, I help her fold some things, but that's what that's what she does. I do majority of the cooking. So I mean, like, I guess at some point early on in the marriage, I would say it's best for you to really define what your roles are in terms of,
and they may change.
It could change. And it could
change over time. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Because it was one point where I was doing all of the cooking, and then that changed. Not saying that my cooking was bad. It just changed.
You sure does? Like,
I'm good money, man. Check my receipts, man. Ask my kids. I'm all right in the kitchen. What? Y'all can kick rocks.
I guess you elaborating on the peace. Yeah, peace is relative, right? Peace in terms of comfort, strength, love, respect. It is a lot maturity.
Oh yeah, I mean, because peace is a broad word. I mean, if you look at what it really is, I mean, peace could be a whole bunch of things when you turn in terms of a relationship.
Right.
I mean, like, peace could be like, hey, she had me a drink ready for me when I came home, or he had the bubble bath ready for me with a little bit of wine, next to the tub. Like, I mean, peace is. It's a broad word. I mean, like that could be used for many things for anybody.
Well, when I was younger, I mean, now I wouldn't do it either, but college and early 20s, I would never date a girl from up north. You know what I'm saying? Because I had the stereotype in my mind, because the girls I would meet from up north, they were kind of real edgy. You know what I'm saying? So they like to argue. You know what I'm saying? So they would argue.
So would you say you was looking for somebody submissive?
Wasn't necessarily submissive, but not so confrontational. You know what I'm saying? So they would argue with you, right? And then 2 minutes later,
confrontational, but tell you off. But then next minute, just boom. Yeah. Oh, we good. Like how I am.
Yeah. So the next minute, the argument's done, and they talk me like nothing happened. My skin wasn't that thick to go through that with them. I needed a sorry or something. It was like, yo, you don't just remember what you just said.
You know what? And that's how I am. I'm like me and Jeremy can get in an argument, and I'll never get to the point where, like 10 minutes later, I'm like, the conversation's over with. Like, yo, you need a drink? You want me to fix you some food? Right. Listen, I said my piece. I'm done with
Let's keep it moving. Right.
Let's keep it moving. But she'll hold it. Like, she'll hold it. You be sitting like, I'm sitting like, you okay?
Yeah.
Jamie, you will hold it.
Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that I think there's some times when, because wives have a very particular set of skills, especially with trying to knowing the right thing to say.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think more times I need a day or so
to kind of up top. So you should be like, you understand that.
Nah, that's
Nah, my G.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He tries to like
Right.
paint this broad brush of everybody.
Yeah,
from up
like
north.
everybody up north is like the same, but not DP.
But I can remember dudes dating other girls from up north,
Yeah,
and they would just go at it, and then they'll be good with each other. Like 2 minutes later, I'm like, yo, I
That's-
almost went in a knockdown drag
Right.
out. You know what I'm saying? 2 minutes ago, and now it's like,
That's
Lord.
that's their piece. Like Shanette says, peace is
I can
different.
kind of co-sign that because
That's their piece.
people from up north would. I guess because they're so used to doing like
Yeah.
seeing that and doing it.
Used to.
yeah.
So they're used to it. So it's like, yeah, we had this argument. Yeah, all right, cool.
Now to keep it moving.
Let's go to the club.
Let's go get something to eat. Yeah, I mean, no, yeah,
It's over.
I get that,
But that's their business.
Yeah.
right.
So that's what when I'm saying that type of craziness and that type of stuff right there. I needed some peace. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
I didn't need that type of situation at the house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I can feel you on that one.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, man, we already at an hour, aren't we?
That was quick though. I mean, like we probably didn't get half the stuff we could have talked
I know,
about.
right?
No, man, we were just talking. Like, wow, I didn't even realize. Go ahead, DP.
You know, another thing, like Travis said, he whatever Nicole brings at him, he's gonna take and, deal with it. And
Yeah.
all of us like that. Because I think we look at it as in our point, at least my point in my life, divorce is not an option. You know what I'm saying? We gotta make this thing work.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When I was younger, I wouldn't care. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been married before. But, I got married before because, she was pregnant with my son. Well, my son was already born.
Right.
And again, try and do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing about it, the day after I got married, I was like,
Why'd you do it?
You knew
what's that?
something was wrong.
Yeah, I knew something was wrong. I mean, literally the next morning, I was like, I'm like,
I think when you get married for the wrong reasons, like the stuff that me and Nicole go through, I'd be like, yo, fuck it, I'm out. But it's not like that. I mean, I want to be with my wife and I want to make it work. So I know that the things that that's the reason why we actually doing the counseling, because we was in a hard place. So we trying to work our way out.
Right.
And that's important, that if you marry that person for the right reason, you're going to stick around and try to figure it
And I
out.
think that's with any like serious relationship. Like, when you're in relationships, it's easy to like take that one road out and being like, yo, I'm peacing out this joint. But when you're in like in a marriage where you actually love the person who you're married to,
Yeah.
you recognize the fact that, look,
Yeah, because that's the homie.
right. I don't want to end this on the bad note.
Right.
So if there is something that we can do to actually work on this,
Yeah.
let's try to do that before we sit there and say, we're ending this. I mean, and it's not bad to end something.
Right.
But if it ain't right, if it really ain't right for you,
Right.
I mean, you might have to take that path. But if it's a possibility that we can actually sit down with somebody, have a conversation, and actually have a conversation with each other to figure out what's wrong with the marriage,
Yeah.
then do it.
Right.
now I have some friends that some of them are married for years, some of them, been married for quite a few years.
Okay. Yep.
And they hate being married. You know what I'm saying? They talk about divorce like it's right around the corner. I have several friends that, they just hate
But you know what?
being married.
They say that they still married, ain't they?
Yeah, there's
I mean, I'm
well,
listen. Listen, I know a few people who like are the same way, but then you look at them like, y'all still married, y'all about to have another kid on the way. It's like it ain't that bad. Y'all still sleeping together.
Right.
But some of them are actually, from what they say, they're married for convenience. It's just easier to stay there now because of the number of years, and don't want to go through that.
I understand that.
I mean, I can understand that though. I mean, because like, how many of us are 40-something years old who've been married will want to go back out into the dating pool?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, that's yo. I'm not trying to go to every little club to try to meet somebody or get on some daggone app where I got to swipe. Right?
What?
You know, I'm not trying to do that.
And I ain't got
at
time.
40-something
I don't
years
have
old,
time
I'm
for
cool.
the courting, bro. I ain't trying to spend no money on your ass. None of that. You better buy me a drink.
Right. You know, because I mean, not to be funny, like yo, like women at 40-something years old, like yo, you got to spend some money if you're trying to get them to be on the team. Now
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm cool.
All right. do you think we should do another session next week? I feel like we should.
I think we should.
Carolyn said they don't want to let go because it's too much at stake. True.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
That is true.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I think we should probably run this back next week, man.
Yeah, we should. And we're gonna have to get the woman's perspective.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, y'all should
Yeah.
do it with the women next week.
Well, I think
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll
figure it out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so here's the thing, y'all. So we're gonna wrap up for today. Part 2 will be next week. We'll have Trav and Mark back. For those who are watching, if you got comments or things that you want us to talk about, put it in the chat box. Put it in. Hit us up on Facebook, and we'll bring those topics up. And just like how y'all doing now.
We want the feedback, but we want the questions. So we can answer the questions.
I'm sorry. I see this. On Carolyn say y'all scared. We're not scared.
Not scared at all.
But yeah, continue. We thank y'all for watching. We thank y'all for interacting with us. This is what it's all about for us to just chop it up. Continue to send your questions in through Facebook. Holla at us again next week. Mark, Trav, got anything to say to the people before we wrap up? No.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah,
DP?
thank you for watching.
Yeah, stick it out. You know what I'm saying? Go to counseling. Get some help if you need it. You know what I'm saying? Talk to some folks.
Wise words.
Yeah.
So for Mark, Trav, and DP, I am Dev, and I always say in everything that you do it with positivity, creativity, and authenticity. This is Real Talk with DP and Dev. Peace, beautiful people.
We out.